Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's Mark Bennett. Today we're going to talk about the hypocrisy of Swift Transportation. I did a 6-month review video and then I deleted it after something that happened when I was at home on home time, and then something that happened this last Sunday, and then something that's happened today. Wow. Where do I start? Okay, so I went home for home time for Christmas. I was home for 2 weeks for Christmas. And while I'm at home, I belong to the Swift Transportation's official Facebook group. So this is our official group, the group that Swift Transportation started. Now, in this group, we got drivers who are able to post about their miles and needing help and give advice. So we had a driver post that he wasn't getting any miles. He was doing 1,000 miles a week, 1,500 at the most. And I'm reading through it, and Swift's, and it said the response was from Swift's official Facebook group. So it was either a person at Swift or a moderator that Swift assigned. Came back and told this driver that he needed to call his driver lead to discuss what he could do or what he needs to do so he can increase his miles per week. And I got to thinking, I these companies, some of them think that it's the driver's fault. Now, am I saying it's all the driver's fault? No, I'm not saying that at all, and I never would. But what I'm saying is, it's not just one-sided. So I'll put my response. I basically got booted from the Facebook group, which I'm not salty about. I'm just trying to show the hypocrisy here. I'll put my response up so you guys can read it. But basically what I told them was, I mean no disrespect, but to tell a driver that he needs to call his driver lead to find out what he could do to better increase his miles when we don't dispatch ourselves, we don't book our own loads, we don't get to pick where we go, is disrespectful. And Swift, you need to take responsibility for your part of this driver not getting miles, is basically what I said. Now, within 20 minutes of that post going up, I get a phone call from the driver leader from the account that I'm on, asking me if I was happy. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm at home. And they said, well, we just got a call from Phoenix saying that and this is how I know it was Swift did this. Swift Transportation in Phoenix called them and told them that I was posting on Facebook that I was unhappy with my miles and I wasn't a happy driver. And I was thinking, I was like, wait a minute. So I went back and I reread my post just to make sure that I didn't say anything about my personal miles. And I didn't. So I told the driver leader, I said, that's not what I posted. And I told him, what I posted. Within 5 minutes of that phone call, Swift themselves kicked me out of the group, which is fine, but it's hypocrisy. First off, let's go into the assumption that I wasn't getting miles and I was upset with my driver lead and the account I was on. Okay? And then let's just go under assumption that I was posting on Facebook about this. What do you think is going to happen when headquarters calls the account that I'm on, telling them that I'm complaining about the miles they're giving me and I'm unhappy, instead of reaching out to the driver themselves? That's the first part of it. So if Swift was really worried about it, they probably should have called me and asked me how happy I was or how upset I was or what's going on or how can we resolve it, instead of calling the people that I'm supposedly upset with, which could cause even more problems and cause me to get even less miles in the future. But that's neither here nor there. Then, like I said, on top of that, they kicked me from the group. So that's strike one, for me. Anyways, that's hypocrisy number one. Now, I'm not, in a way it did me a favor because I'm not in the group, so I'm not responding, trying to give help and pointing out things to drivers and helping them out. I'm not wasting my time looking through there anymore, see if there's any drivers I could give advice to. So, in a way, they did good. It's good for me that they kicked me out, but it's still, in my eyes, it's hypocrisy. Now, let's talk about the second thing. This past Sunday, I took a load to Idaho, went to Boise, and I picked up in Boise. And on my way back, I get a message on the Zonar saying that's a mandatory shutdown from the 84-86 junction all the way to the Idaho border. Well, I know there's a couple drivers I know that are up there ahead of me, about 45 minutes to an hour ahead of me, that are coming into that area. So I give them both a call and I talk to them. There was no whiteout. There was snow coming down, but the roads weren't slick. And in their opinions, it was 100% safe to drive. Well, Swift's policy is if they do a mandatory shutdown, you have to shut down. So I shut down. Called and asked when I could leave. And they said I could leave when the sun comes up in the morning. Okay, fine, whatever. I take off in the morning. I get to Juniper, Idaho, and I get a message saying everyone needs to shut down, that there's black ice and it's a whiteout and there's heavy winds. Well, there's nowhere for me to stop, so I continue on through. There was no black ice. There was no whiteout. It wasn't even snowing. And it was just a normal windy day. So I continued on, and I got to the yard. I gave my trailer to him. Or I dropped my trailer. I went and checked in. I talked to him. I told him, it was worse going into Idaho than it was coming out, but you didn't shut us down going into Idaho. You shut us down coming out. So then I decide I'm going to do a 34. Tuesday, they assigned me a load to go. Where did I go? Grand Junction. That's where I went. I went to Grand Junction, and I was like, "Well, I'm under." No. I'm sorry. They gave me a 2-stop load, a little load, going to West Jordan, Utah, and West Valley, Utah. I was like, "Well, I'm 23 hours into my 34," and I was told that they really needed, because of all the shutdowns, they needed everyone with hours to drive to cover the loads. I had about 11 hours on my clock. I was getting 10 back and then 6. And so I was like, I can run for the rest of the week to help out, and I'll just do my 34 at the end of the week. No big deal. I'll just break after sitting for 23 hours. So I went ahead and I take this load. Then they gave me a load going to Grand Junction, which is a really good load. I ran down to Grand Junction, delivered that yesterday, made it back to Green River. On my way back, I get a load going to Twin Falls, Idaho. It's the load I'm on right now. And I get to the yard. I drop my other trailer. I go in and get the paperwork. Ask them about, things being shut down. And they say they're going through everything. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I go drop my trailer. I hook up to my trailer. I spent 45 minutes doing my the pre-trip and getting me something to eat, the whole 9 yards. I take off. I get, 2 miles from the DC, and I get a message. All drivers were 84 from the Idaho-Utah border to the 84 to Bliss, Idaho is shut down due to high winds, not snow, high winds. I'm like, really? Okay. So I've already left the yard, and I get about 20 miles north of the yard on 15, about the on 84, I should say, not 15, 84, because of the split. And about the 40-mile marker on 84, it's almost a complete whiteout. Trucks in the median and on the ditch and everywhere else. Roads are slick. Winds are blowing all over the place. But there's no shutdown report for that. They let me leave the yard. So I slow down. I drive safely. I get up here to Snowville, Utah, and I shut down. Well, the only place to park here at the Flying J when I got here was the reserved parking. All the free parking was taken. So I reserved my parking spot, and I call them up and I say, hey, all that's left is reserved parking. Are you guys going to reimburse us since you're shutting us down? And I was told, nope. It's a mandatory shutdown, but if all there is a reserved parking, you have to pay for it yourself. Wait a minute. It's unsafe for me to drive. That's why you're shutting me down. That's what you say. You say it's unsafe for me to drive, and you're shutting me down. I can't drive. The only place for me to safely park is in a paid parking. You won't pay for my parking? You won't reimburse my parking? What the fuck? So I was like, are you serious? They're like, well, you need to find off-site parking. So then I asked them a question. It's a mandatory shutdown, right? Yes. I'll get rode up if I drive during a mandatory shutdown, correct? Yes. But you're telling me that if I don't want to pay for my own parking, I have to leave the truck stop where I'm safely parked and drive in conditions that you say is unsafe to drive in to find another safe place to park where I don't have to pay for it. How much goddamn sense does that make? So they came back and they're like, well, you know what? There's a dirt lot right across the street from Flying J. I said, yeah, that's paid parking. And yeah, but how much is it? I said, I think it's $10 and it's $20 to park at the Flying J. And so they go, well, park over there. We'll pay for that $10 for you to park over there. It's like, well, that lot hasn't been plowed. So if I go over there and I get stuck, you're going to have to call a wrecker out. Well, for this one time and this one time only, we're willing to do that. And I was like, you know what? That's fine, whatever. After this load, when I get back, I'll either quit, I'll go to another account, I'll go over the road, I'll do something else. Because it's obviously now to me that $20 is worth more to you as a company than my life is. Because you say it's unsafe for me to drive, but if I don't want to pay for parking, I should just drive until I find a safe place to park that I don't have to pay for. See the hypocrisy there? Now, I do say Swift is a good company to work for. It really is. Every company has faults, good parts and bad parts. But in 20 plus years of driving, I have never in my life had a company tell me that, you know what, look, it's a mandatory shutdown. If you continue driving, you'll be rode up. But if you don't want to pay for your parking, because the only parking available is reserved parking, then you need to drive to a safe place to park that doesn't charge. So I start thinking. I was a transportation manager of Ritchie Trucking out of Fresno, California for 2 years. Right at 2 years, a little over 2 years, and then they downsized. And we had customers, GE and so forth and so on. And part of our scorecard was on-time pickups, on-time deliveries. What excused us for delivering late was weather conditions caused, or any delay that was an act of God, weather, so forth and so on. With going over the grapevine in Southern California, if it gets shut down, snowed in, we can't go make our delivery, it doesn't count as a late delivery in our scorecard. So now I'm thinking, why are you allowing drivers to leave to DC and to head north if you say it's unsafe to drive and they have to shut down? Could it be that each load coming out of the DC has to leave by a certain time, otherwise it's considered leaving late? And once it's out of the DC and it's out on time, you can shut the driver down. God forbid if he wrecks getting to a point or a place to shut down, and whether you deem is unsafe. So you're knowingly letting the driver drive in unsafe conditions. So the load will be showed as leaving on time. And now you can tell the customer, hey, snow blizzard came in, or high winds came in, roads are slick, whatever the reason. But due to an act of God, we had to shut that driver down. So now if you deliver a day late, or a day and a half late, or a couple hours late or whatever, it's not your fault because it was an act of God. Now, am I saying that's what they did? No, I'm not going to say that's what they did because I have no proof that's what they did. But when you start trying to connect the dots, load leaves the yard on time, drives to a location, now you shut them down due to unsafe roads. Now you tell your customer that your driver shut down due to an act of God. So now when you deliver after the delivery time or delivery day, it's still considered so you don't get a bad mark on your scorecard. I know this game. I've done this game. I played this game when I was a transportation manager. The only difference is when I had to shut my drivers down and they were willing to roll to a point to get shut down, I put them in hotels at the expense of the company. I didn't argue with them about paying $20. The driver was willing to go down the road, get as far as he could before he had to shut down. So it would be considered an on-time delivery for the customer, and we serviced our customer, kept our scorecard high so we could continue to get more freight and increase our freight lanes with the customer. Why would I complain about paying for something? I don't know. It just, like I said, once again, I'm not going to say that's what's happening, but it's hard to see any other path. Because why would you allow a driver to leave the yard where he's only going to be able to drive 40 miles before you know that you're shutting him down? This is the weather where I'm at. As you can see, it's snowing pretty good. The parking lot here is pretty snowed up. I don't see anybody going across the interstate. right now. So maybe they finally shut the interstate down. I don't know. I haven't looked. But man, I don't know. Like I said, it's one of the mysteries of the world. Why you'd allow a driver to drive 40 miles to shut him down if the road to get to that spot is unsafe? Why even dispatch the load? Why not tell the customer, hey, due to an act of God and the conditions of the road, we're not going to dispatch our driver until the road's clear up. If it's about safety, if safety is what it's completely about, why are you allowing your driver to drive in these conditions if you deem them unsafe? Not the driver leaving and calling and say, hey man, I feel unsafe. The roads are wet. They're slick. I'm slipping and sliding. The wind's blowing me everywhere. I'm going to shut down because I don't feel comfortable. But you're allowing the driver to leave and drive in the condition to get to the point to where you consider the roads unsafe. I don't know. And I know I've repeated myself a few times. It boggles my mind. Unless, like I said, let's keep our score up by gating out at the right time and then using the act of God as why we can't deliver on time. Let me know down in the comments what you think. If you're thinking about coming to Swift, I'm going to tell you 95% of your interactions, or at least mine, have been amazing, and it is a good company. But this instance right here is just, it's baffling. And I think it's my responsibility as a content creator and a YouTuber and a truck driver to get this information out there so you could base your decisions on actual information you're getting from drivers. Now, I will say that my experiences here and my interactions here will not be the same as yours, nor will anyone else's. So keep that in mind. And I could go on about 99 things to every one thing good about working here versus the one bad. But these bad ones, man, they're not just minor things. This is a big deal. This isn't something minor. It affects a driver's pay. It could affect the driver's life. It could affect the driver's safety. I checked the weather before I left. Nothing in the weather forecast made me believe that it was going to be unsafe to drive. That was why I left. Now, when I got the message about 84 in Idaho being shut down, my brother, who was coming down through Idaho on 84 at the time, never got the message on his Zonar. Why is that? I don't know. Maybe Zonar messed up. Maybe he's in a bad area. I don't know. But he was coming back, and he didn't get the message. I had to tell him about it. I'm leaving out. I get the message after I left out. And a couple of us going up to Idaho left out. So, you guys make your decisions. Please don't. I'm not bashing Swift whatsoever. I still think they're a good company. But I did want to show the hypocrisy of even Swift. But every company has it. Thank you. Hit the like button down below. Comment and subscribe, please. It really helps the channel grow and get our message out to other people. Have a wonderful day and be safe out there.